So I've been following Lil Darkie's music for a few years now. I found him when he had just released Genocide, and he's become one of my favorite musical artists since then. You might know Lil Darkie from songs like Genocide and Haha blowing up on TikTok back in 2020, but his catalog is richer and more diverse than his mainstream hits let on. His music hits a wide variety of lyrical themes, as well as genres including punk, acoustic, metal, and more recently, hyperpop. His music is pretty standout, so you can imagine my excitement when I found out he had released a new EP. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about Lil Darkie's newest EP, The Small Dark One. On first listen, I wasn't sure how I felt about this project. That tends to happen with most new music I listen to, but it's a pretty prominent thing with Darkie's music. After a couple of go-arounds with the EP, I have to say that this is a solid track list. There's a good mix of his aggressive trap beats and his more somber and mellow tracks. It's all fairly good, but what I think this EP does best is give the listener a good taste of who Lil Darkie is as an artist as of now. During his early years and mainstream peak, Lil Darkie's music was rough and angry trap music with politically charged and aggressive lyrics. However, Darkie has seemingly been slowly moving away from that type of music over the years as he's grown. I'm not saying that tone is gone. Some of the songs on this EP still hit those angry and political beats, but with a higher production and a more mature handling of the subject matter. You're not going to find any SoundCloud era Darkie instrumentals on here, but you get a good taste of modern Darkie. Go, for example, hits similar notes to some of those early SoundCloud lyrical themes, talking about the system taking advantage of and killing the common people for profit, but the instrumental takes a lot of the hyperpop influence that was prominent on his last album, Boros. While some of his quote hyper trap songs are pretty good, they tend to be more of a mixed bag. I think Darkie is still fine-tuning that formula, and in this song, it feels like it could have used a little more time in the oven. It's a good song, don't get me wrong, and it reminds me a lot of the song Swamp off of his Swamp album. It's got a similar vibe, and I like Swamp, but it definitely could have used a little more reworking. Also, the outro for Go is pretty eerie, and I think it makes for a good intro track to the EP. Goop is a similar track on this EP, but I think it's done a lot better. The hyperpop influences are still there, but toned down to where it's a motif rather than a focus, which I really enjoy. It mixes that with a more standard trap beat, with Darkie flexing in the lyrics, talking about doing drugs and making money, which is pretty ironic considering the track that came before it on the track list, but I'll get to that one in a minute. The flow delivery in Goop is good, even if I'm not too big on the contents of the lyrics themselves. While I don't think Goop is the best track on here, it's still really good, and I can see myself coming back to this track a lot in the future. There's this one bit in the song that I want to highlight real quick because it just hits me a certain way, and just listen. I don't know what it is about that part, but I really like it. Keeping on the more aggressive songs on the EP, Bam is an interesting track. The instrumental sampling a 1920s cartoon big band song works really well here. It really stands out not only on this EP, but as a Darkie song, since I can't think of another one of his songs that have done this. It definitely gives the song a certain vibe that I can fuck with. While I do really like the beat, I think Darkie's flow on the track feels a lot more amateur. The verses feel a little sloppier than other songs, and the chorus is kinda repetitive. I know that this was an unreleased song that's probably a little older, but I still think the lyrics could have used some more work. If you like the more amateur SoundCloud era Darkie flow, you might enjoy this, but it's not really for me. That doesn't make it a bad song at all. I still think it's a decent song, but I do think that Bam might be the weakest track on the EP. Speaking of weaker tracks, I didn't really get a lot out of Ohm. I wouldn't even really consider it a song, but it makes for a good outro to the EP. I think it does a good job of wrapping up the atmosphere of the project. Plus, the guitar on the latter half of the track is pretty solid. I would have labeled this as the weakest song, but again, not really a song. Go, Goop, and Bam are good showcases of where Darkie is when it comes to his more aggressive music. His flows are still good, but he seems to want to incorporate more hyperpop elements into these songs, which I'm down for when implemented correctly, as well as move away from the harsh and bassy beats in his earlier songs. However, I think where Darkie seems to be really shining now is in his slower and more melodic songs. Expectation is a good example of that. The instrumental feels very ethereal with acoustic guitars and chimes making up a lot of it. On top of that, Darkie hits more emotional beats in his lyricism, talking about living in the moment, letting go of the past, and how clinging to memories doesn't allow you to enjoy the people and world around you now. This track kind of hit close to home for me, as this was something I struggled with for a while, and I think Darkie handled this song well. Dreaming is another great hit on here, trying out an acoustic lo-fi type beat that feels reminiscent of past songs like Electric Dandelions and Run. There's also a solo between the verses that utilizes synths and a reverb electric guitar that sounds really nice. The lyrics on here get more personal as Darkie reminisces about his past before the fame, and how much simpler things were before. I know this is pretty contradictory when paired with expectation, but I think that contradiction points out that Darkie, like us, is still human despite the fame. A lot of us will preach something yet do the same thing we preach against. People are flawed, and Lil Darkie is still a person despite his success. Also, the closing lines on Dreaming show that while Darkie does miss the past, he's moving on in the present.
My family believes in me, and as of recently, I've been living peacefully.
More.
Shit. It's been 3 days since the last.
The last song on the EP that I've wanted to talk about is the song Do More Drugs, because I honestly think this song is not only the best song on the EP, but one of his best slower songs. The simple beat paired with the beautiful piano in this instrumental feels so mellow and heavenly, and it just sounds really fucking good. Earlier I said that Goop was ironic because another song on here, and that's because lyrics in Do More Drugs discuss drug addiction. A lot of the lyrics talk about Darkie struggling with drug addiction, while society seems to push drug reliance as a method or replacement for mental health care. Daily things become more difficult and emotions become erratic due to these drug addictions, yet the world subtly pushes a narrative that drugs are a relief instead of actually addressing the issues people are using drugs to suppress. Self-reflective lyrics paired with the airy and elegant instrumental work really well together. While I might not come back to this song as often as I might with some other songs on here, this is definitely my personal favorite song off this EP.
There's always something and some reason for waiting THC to be with me. More drugs. Do more drugs. Do more drugs. Do more drugs.
Okay.
So, what do I think of this EP as a whole? I think it's pretty solid. It's a mixed bag for sure, but there really isn't a bad song on here. What I think this EP does really well is two things. One, I think that this shows that Darkie is in a place in his life and career where his slower and more personal songs are where he shines. It's not that Darkie can't make those great aggressive trap beats. Goop and Go, as well as his recent collabs with Bad Lad, show that Darkie is still more than capable of delivering absolute fucking fire. However, it seems Darkie really shines the brightest on his more personal tracks like Dreaming and Do More Drugs. Secondly, I think this EP serves as a good starting point for anyone who wants to get into Lil Darkie. It gives new listeners a taste of who Lil Darkie is as of now. His aggressive trap beats having more of a hyperpop influence as well as more compact flows, and his slower songs that he seems to go all out on. Showing newcomers his classics like Genocide and Haha aren't going to give them who Lil Darkie is nowadays. Obviously those are still good songs, even if I'm not particularly fond of them, but this EP does a great job of showing where Lil Darkie is now. Do I think that this opinion will hold up in a couple years? Probably not, but as of now, it's a great stepping stone for new listeners. Overall, this EP is pretty good. It's great for introducing new listeners and has a lot to offer to older listeners. I'd have to give this EP a 7 out of 10, with Do More Drugs and Goop being my favorite songs, and Bam as my least favorite, but it's still pretty good. Man, trying to record an outro, is hard. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe and hit the bell for post notifications, all the YouTube shill shit. Comment any music that you might want to hear me listen to and review. I'm always looking for new music to listen to, and I'd love to talk about whatever I'm listening to. I think it'd be fun. I'm not going to only be doing music reviews. I know this is probably going to be my first video. I have other videos in the works that aren't music related. I want to try to do a variety of different things, but I thought, I listened to this EP and I was like, I kind of want to talk about it, and so, the video you just watched. So yeah. I got other videos in the works. I have a video talking about this really mid-anime that I watched, as well as talking about a bunch of the announcements from Summer Games Fest 2022. So yeah, keep an eye out on those. And if you want to get more from me, you can go check out my Twitter at Eithan Tweets. Should be one of the links in the description. I also have a Patreon if you decide that you want to go donate and support whatever this is. I got a couple different tiers. There's a Discord server. You can get behind-the-scenes content. Your name can be popped up in the videos. For enough money, I'll read your name off. Ooh, parasocial interaction. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just the Twitter, the Patreon, and I hope you enjoyed the review. With that, it's been Ethan, and I guess I will see you guys later. Bye.